Dear students, I am Mahesh Javalkar from Maratha Mandal Polytechnic, who is going to continue today with the MCQs on semiconductor devices. This is my ninth video on semiconductor devices MCQ. So we'll start with the questions or continuation. So we'll see the first question of today, question number 151. Okay. So here the question is asked is ICs have advantages over discrete device circuits, which is now which advantage does the ICs have over discrete device circuits? So options are lower cost. Obviously, lower cost is an advantage. High reliability also is an advantage because there are no loose wires over there. So maintenance cost also is less. Our reliability is more. Life is more. And then small size, obviously it is small size because it is fabricated very machinely, and then it will have a small size. So all of these are the advantages of ICs, integrated circuits, over discrete device circuits. So the option will be D here. So ICs have the advantages over discrete device circuits, which is all of this: lower cost, high reliability, and smaller size. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 152. Etching refers to the removal of material from dash. The options are the soft surface, the hard surface, the sticky surface, and the wafer surface. Obviously, it will be option D, the wafer surface. Now, from wafer surface, if you want to remove the unwanted copper, which is not your path in which current is going to flow. So that removal of unwanted copper from the surface is called as etching. So here the option will be D, the wafer surface. Etching refers to the removal of material from the wafer surface. And as an explanation, I have shown down also, etching refers to the removal of material from the wafer surface. The process is usually combined with lithography in order to select specific areas on the wafer from which material can be removed. Okay, so when you're removing that unwanted copper, that is called as etching, okay, from the wafer surface. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 153. Deposition is a complementary process to etching, obviously, because deposition means you're adding some material, etching means you're removing some material. So adding will be complementary to removing. Clear? So here the answer should be true, A, true, because deposition is a complementary process to etching. It is true. The complementary process to etching is deposition, where a new material is added. Okay, so in deposition we are adding a material, and in etching we are removing a material. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 154. Photoconductive transducers produce output. Okay, now here the options are due to change in inductance, due to change in light, due to change in resistance, due to change in temperature. Now if you are speaking about photoconductive, conduction means it is opposition to resistance. Okay, so there has to be change in resistance if you want to have a change in conductance. That means photoconductive transducer produces output due to change in resistance. So here the answer will be C, due to change in resistance. Photoconductive transducer produces output due to change in resistance. Okay, so here explanation also I have given you. A photoconductive transducer produces an output due to change in resistance. Electrical output is produced due to variation in temperature. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 155. Commonly used photoemissive material is, okay, so options are gold, opium, tellurium, and cesium antimony. Okay, so out of this, I think the last one, cesium antimony, is commonly used photoemissive material where emission of electrons is more as light falls on it. So here the answer will be cesium antimony, which is the most commonly used photoemissive material. It is a material which is housed in a glass tube, and photoemissive devices are also called as phototubes. Okay, so cesium antimony is the commonly used photoemissive material. So next we'll go to question number 156. Photoconductors are made up of, okay, the options are thick layer of semiconductor, thin layer of semiconductor, capacitive substrate, and inductive substrate. Obviously it should be a layer of semiconductor, and it should be a thin layer of semiconductor. So photoconductors are made of thin layer of semiconductor. So they don't consist of junctions. They are junctionless detectors, but they are a thin layer of semiconductors. Okay, Then we'll go to the next question, question number 157. Optocoupler consists of a phototransistor and a LED. It's true because an LED, if you speak, it is a source of light, and a phototransistor is a photo detector. Okay, so source and a detector of photo is there in optocoupler. So optocoupler consists of a LED and a phototransistor. It is true. So here the answer should be true. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 158. Reverse leakage current in a transistor, okay, is dash, is affected by light, is not affected by light, increases with decrease in pressure, decreases with increase in temperature. Okay, reverse leakage current in a transistor, that is, we are speaking here about phototransistor, is affected by light. Okay, so if light incident on it increases, the leakage current also increases. If light incident on it decreases, the leakage current decreases. So here the option should be option A, that is reverse leakage current in a transistor is affected by light. Okay, so in the explanation also I have given you, it is directly proportional to the intensity of light. It increases with the increase in the light intensity. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 159. LDRs are also called as, LDR means light dependent resistors. Okay, light dependent resistors means photoresistive cells. Okay, so LDRs are also called as, from this option if you can see, option B is photoresistive cell. So LDR, when light falls, the resistance will decrease. When light decreases, resistance will increase. Okay, so that is nothing but photo falling on a resistance. So it is a photoresistive cell. Photo will going to change the resistance. So it is called as photoresistive cell. Okay. Then we'll go to question number 160. Photoresistive cells are, okay, active device, passive device, insulating device, or none of this. Now photoresistive cell, when photo, that is light, falls on the device, the resistance is going to vary, and resistance is a passive device. So passive device, the answer should be here, the passive device. Passive devices are those which does not require an external power source. So resistors and LDRs are passive devices. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 161. Which of the following materials can be used as photoconductive transducer? Photoconductive transducer means as the light falls on it, the conduction of it will change. That is, the flow of current will increase. Okay, so here the options are selenium, silicon, germanium, and all the above. I think all can be used. All can be used. Selenium, silicon, germanium, all can be used as photoconductive transducers. So option will be D. All the mentioned above, selenium, silicon, germanium, all can be used as photoconductive transducers. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 162. In using a photodiode as a photodetector, it is invariably reverse biased. Why it is invariably reverse biased? So options are, the power consumption is much reduced compared to reverse bias condition. Option B is only when the photodiode is reverse biased, the incident photons produce electron hole pairs. Option C is only if the diode is reverse biased, light variations can be converted into current variations. And option D is when photons are incident on the diode, the fractional change in the reverse current is much greater than the fractional change in the forward current. I think option D is the right answer, because the change in reverse current what we get when light falls on the diode, that change in reverse current what we see is greater than the change what we get in forward current, and that is why it is invariably reverse biased. So here the option should be option D. In using a photodiode as a photodetector, it is invariably reverse bias, because when photons are incident on the diode, the fractional change, the change in reverse current is much greater than the fractional change in the forward current. Okay, then we'll go to next question, question number 163. In photodiode, when there is no incident light, the reverse current is almost negligible and is called as. Now when there is no light, it is called as dark. Okay, so obviously the reverse current produced, which will be very negligible, which will be very small, which is just produced because of reverse bias and not because of light, and that reverse bias current is called as dark current. So here the option will be option B, dark current. In photodiode, when there is no incident light, the reverse current is almost negligible and it is called as dark current. Okay, then we'll go to question number 164. What is the full form of laser? Okay, Now laser is a light source, is an optical source. Okay, so laser LA is light amplification. Light amplification. So in this, if you see, option C and D are showing you light amplification, and it is stimulated emission of radiations. Okay, so light amplification by stimulated emission of radiations. So here the option should be option C, that is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. That is what is the full form of laser. So here you can see the full form of laser is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. It is a short form of laser. Stimulated emission is a process by which amplification of radiation takes place. Hence the meaning of laser, that the light is amplified by stimulating the emission of radiations. Okay, then we'll go to question number 165. Which of the following is not a characteristic of laser? Okay, so if you see the following options, A is monochromatic, B is coherent, C is divergent, D is intense. Monochromatic, coherent and intense are of one type, and if you see C, divergent, divergence of light is not there in laser output. Laser output is monochromatic, it is coherent, it is intensified, it is used for high speed data communication. Okay, but it is in one direction and it is intensified. It will not be divergent. So which of the following is not a characteristic? In that you can see that option C will be divergent. Okay, so the lasers are very highly directional, having almost no divergence. So divergence effect is not there in a laser output. Laser output are always coherent and intense, and they are in one direction. Okay, then we'll go to the next question. Question number 166. A device which converts electrical energy in the form of a current into optical energy is called. Now, anything which is converting electrical energy into optical energy, like LED or laser, okay, is called as optical source. So here the option should be option A, optical source. So here you can see that it is a device which will convert electrical energy in the form of light energy, like LED or laser. So the answer should be optical source. Okay, so optical sources, the best examples are light emitting diode LED and laser. Okay, then we'll go to the next question. Question number 167. Dash in the laser occurs when photon colliding with an excited atom causes the stimulated emission of second photon. Okay, now when a photon goes and collides, dashes with an excited atom, means when the atom comes from higher energy level to lower energy level, it will release another photon, second photon is released. So if one photon is going to release another photon, means 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, it will go in that way, and this increase is multiplication, and this is nothing but light amplification. So here the answer will be light amplification. Light amplification in the laser occurs when photon colliding with an excited atom causes the stimulated emission of a second photon, right? Then we'll go to the next question, question number 168. The word maser means, okay, now laser and maser, when we are studying, in laser whatever L means light and maser means M means microwave. Rest everything the definition remains same. So it is microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So here the option A is given, microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So here the photon released will produce microwave energy, whereas in laser the photon produced will release a light energy. Okay, so it is microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Then question number 169. The difference between a laser and a maser is that the photon from a laser comes in a form of visible light, while a photon from a maser comes in a form of, obviously it will be microwaves. Okay, so here the option should be A, microwaves, because maser is microwave amplification, whereas laser is light amplification. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 170. What is need to achieve population inversion? Okay, what is the need to achieve population inversion? Why we should have population inversion? Okay, now population inversion is a state where there are many atoms which are excited. To excite most of the atoms is called as population inversion. So here the option A will be the correct one, to excite most of the atoms. When population inversion is achieved, the majority of atoms are in the excited state. This will help you to have amplification. This causes amplification of the incident beam by stimulated emission. So in that process, when you are stimulating emission and when the excited atom is hit by a photon, another photon is released. So in the form of laser, it will come out as a form of light, and in the form of maser, it will come as a form of microwave. But in both the cases, population inversion means to excite most of the atoms. So here option A will be the right answer. Okay. Now these were some questions on laser, maser. Okay, what I have taken on semiconductors. Now with this I will end this video. If you are having any doubt or any feedback, if you want to give, you can drop a comment on my channel. And also again I will tell you the same thing. See that whenever you study a subject, your basic fundamentals are clear. Once your basic fundamentals are clear, you can go into any higher knowledge of that subject. Once your assumptions, your basic things are clear, you can give any logic for that subject. You can make out any logic from that subject. You can attempt any multiple choice of question. You can attempt any objective type of questions. Only thing, your fundamentals, your basics of the subject should be clear. Okay. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.